fourth quarter. Brunson keeps it alive. Bridges looks back to Brunson. Corner three is up. Bang! Jalen Brunson from downtown. And the Knicks take a 2-point lead. Brunson on the drive, spins underneath, puts it up, puts it in. Jalen Brunson does it again. It's a 6-point lead with 37 seconds left. It's now 12 consecutive wins for the Knicks as they take game one of the NBA Finals. Their 7th consecutive road game. And one of the great playoff runs in NBA history is still alive.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, not only 12 straight wins, and now they haven't lost in the playoffs in 42 days and counting. Only one of those 12 wins was by less than double digits. Good morning. Game one's in the books. The Knicks 105-95 on the road in San Antonio in what was, in my view, a very entertaining game, an intense game, like a lot of these games have been. Not the best played game overall. It was sloppy at times, but still a game in which you saw what Max did with the open, came in with Brunson, and he was great as a closer, no doubt. But for my money, Karl Anthony Towns was the most valuable player in the game last night. And a close second was probably Josh Hart. Good morning. One guest on the show as of now, Chris Miles from NBA TV, will join us at 11:35. We'll get to the latest on Brandon Ayuk. Arrest warrant, and then another video posted to his Instagram. Is his behavior now disqualifying? I sense that it is for most of you. I'll share with you what I think coming up on the show. And man, some of you just won't let it go with anything that I say, nice or perceived not so nice, about Terry McLaurin. Wasn't even about Terry yesterday, but I guess we made it about Terry. Always comes back to Terry McLaurin. How are you doing, Max? That was a hell of a basketball game. Entertaining, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, dude, I thought the Spurs were going to make this little comeback and steal the game away at home, and then Brunson just poured it on, man. It was impressive.
How about the guy that ran out onto the floor and wanted to take a selfie with Wemby? I actually think they adjudicated that very well with a jump ball, because actually right as that was happening and the fan was running out onto the court, it looked like a turnover and a Knicks steal going the other way. So to give the ball back to San Antonio, I thought would have been unfair. They jumped it up, and San Antonio controlled the jump and got the possession out of it. But, look, you got to take seriously what the Knicks are doing right now. I mean, this is an unbelievable kind of historic playoff run. They haven't lost a game since April 23rd. I mean, that is now, 42 days and counting. It'll be 43 when they take the floor for game 2. We're talking about a month and a half during the postseason since their last loss. I thought last night you saw kind of a battle of a team that came in with some rust, the Knicks, after their long layoff, 9 days, and a team that came in with some fatigue off of a grueling 7-game series in the Western Conference Finals against Oklahoma City. And I think ultimately the rust got wiped away much faster than the fatigue did, and the Knicks end up taking a 1-0 lead in the NBA Finals. And how about this? They are now the favorite to win the NBA championship. Yesterday, they were about a 2-1 dog, roughly. They are now a -140 favorite to win the NBA championship. I did a bit of a 180, thinking no chance against OKC or San Antonio for the Knicks, to at least giving them a chance. I picked the Spurs in 7. You picked the Knicks to win the series, correct? Yesterday on the show.
I'm feeling real good.
You should feel good about it because it's going to be an absolute scene when it goes back to the Garden. My youngest lives in New York. He was at a bar watching the game last night. He sent me some video of Madison Square Garden because he passed it on his way home from work last night, and he said the whole city was just unbelievably lit. It is a great basketball city when the Knicks are great, The Knicks are right there, really, with the Yankees. I mean, some of you who are New Yorkers could speak much more intelligently about this, but Yankees, Knicks, when those two teams are good, man, the city is alive, and it is right now, and Monday night is going to be quite the scene regardless of what happens on Friday night. But the Knicks are on a roll, and look, I thought that this was a compelling game. I love the back and forth nature of it in the fourth quarter in particular. To see the Knicks take an 8-point lead, and then Wemby, whose stat line reads like he played a good game, more on him in a moment, ends up having this quick run, 9-0 run to get them the lead back at 95-94, and then Brunson takes over and ends up with just an incredible closing stretch. The deflection that led to an offensive second chance, and then the corner three, and then the up and under in the paint. I mean, he had some ridiculous shots. He is one of the best small guy shot makers we have seen in a long time. I actually thought there was a bit too much iso ball at times last night. I thought he labored to get the ball across half court. I know he banged up his knee early. I still like it when they move the ball a little bit more like they've been doing throughout the postseason. Again, like all of these games, physical everywhere, perimeter, down low. But the Knicks pulled it out. And I'll tell you, when they went down 13, it could have gone down more at the beginning of the third quarter. It was a bad ending to the first half. Brunson was picked at half court when they were down 2, and then they gave up a 3. Champagny was so huge for San Antonio in that first half. So was Dylan Harper. My God, how good is Dylan Harper? I mean, I did not see that one coming. I liked Dylan Harper. The guy that I didn't like was Ace Bailey out of Rutgers. Rutgers had 2 top 5 picks in the draft and was not very good in 2024, in 2025 college basketball-wise. But loved Harper's. I don't know that there's a better guy right now at finishing at the rim in terms of his ability to absorb contact and still score. He was tremendous last night off the bench for San Antonio. But to me, this game comes down to, right from the jump, Karl Anthony Towns had a mindset that was, really, Wemby? He's like already, anointed the greatest of all time. Well, try to guard me out here and see what happens. First of all, Wemby cannot close out as much as he did because Karl Anthony Towns went around him like he was a lamppost. Wemby did not. Let me back up and just say this, because there are people that will, come in and read box scores and tell you how much they thought of the game, and they'll look at Wemby's box score and say he played well. He did not play well. That was not a good game by Victor Wembanyama at all. He was completely discombobulated much of the night. He had 6 turnovers. He had 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 block shots. A couple of the blocks were incredible, but he was 6 of 21 from the floor. And he did have that stretch in the fourth quarter when they were down 8, and it was an impressive stretch for him. And you're like, God, he's struggled all night, and look, he's going to come back and win the game for him. But he didn't, because the other guy, the small guy, ended up closing him out. But I thought Karl Anthony Towns was, he's so talented. We all know that. He has the ability to be, a guy at 7 feet that can totally space and stretch the floor. And yet there's something about him, during the course of his career, and even last year at times. It's like, dude, you got to do more. You're 7 feet. You got to do more, and you got to be more consistent in doing more. Last night, he came out with an aggressive mindset. If you've been following the NBA postseason, Karl Anthony Towns has decided that he is not a scorer. He's a facilitator. And that apparently stems from his belief that he's as good a passer as Jokic is. And he wants to be kind of viewed in the same way that Jokic is, as a 7-foot center that is more of a facilitator than just a scorer. He doesn't have to be a scorer to impact the game, which is true. But there are nights in which Karl Anthony Towns has to do more than just facilitate. And I thought last night his aggressiveness on both ends, he was an outstanding defender. He was an outstanding rebounder. But the moves he made around Wemby, I thought were tone-setting. He went for 18 and 12 in the game, 4 assists in the game, a block shot in the game. But I thought his impact spoke even louder than his stat line. And then Josh Hart, that's one of those stat lines you look at, 3 points, 1 for 5. He must have sucked. No, he was arguably the best player on the floor. I'd go Cat 1, Hart 2, Brunson 3 in terms of the impact on the final score, although it's hard to take that away from Brunson with the way he finished. But Brunson had a brutal first half. Brutal shooting the wise, turnover wise. He looked rusty because they did not knock down a lot of shots that they had been knocking down. Shamet knocked down some big shots. I thought Alvarado came in and gave him really good minutes. I thought Mitchell Robinson's availability was huge, and I thought he played well. But Josh Hart, 3 points, and yet his impact on the game was so significant. 15 rebounds for a 6'4", 6'5" guard from Sidwell Friends through Villanova with all the other Villanova guys. Man, they're winners, aren't they? Brunson, Hart, Bridges. Crunch time doesn't seem to phase them at all. But Hart's ability to rebound, defend, loose ball chaser, loose ball getter, deflector defensively, he had such a massive impact on that game last night. And the Knicks pulled it out. I thought when they went down 13 in the third quarter and they seemed to be struggling to score a little bit and Brunson couldn't get it going, I thought they were in trouble and weren't going to be able to take advantage of the San Antonio fatigue. I am a little bit curious as to why Dylan Harper wasn't in the game more in the fourth quarter for the Spurs. But those are, decisions and adjustments that I'm sure will be made. The last thought about last night, we'll open it up for calls at 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Your reaction to last night's game one, Knicks beating the Spurs 105-95. Are the Knicks now in an upper hand position to win this series? Yes or no, why or why not, and anything else you want to talk about related to last night's game. But here's the one thought that I had about last night, and it's not the first time I've had this thought in watching Victor Wembanyama throughout this postseason. He's definitely one of one when it comes to his size and talent and skill. We've never seen a 7'5" guy have this level of skill. It's the incredible ability to close out. His wingspan and his ability to impact shots defensively is already like at a level stratospherically that I don't think we've ever seen. But offensively, I don't think he's anywhere near where he's going to be. And I think there are nights where he looks like a 7'5", gangly, awkward, not quite there yet player. He's got tremendous skill. He can put the ball on the floor. He can put it between his legs. He can shoot the three. He can drive. He can dunk basically from one step inside the free throw line with his extension. He can score, from the post. He can score from the elbow. There's all of that, but he still isn't super smooth offensively. Like I'm pretty sure that if you said, Wemby, I need you to get 40 tonight, that's not as easy as it is for some players in the league if you got the green light to go get 40. And he got 41, remember, in game one of the Western Conference Finals. I'm not diminishing anything that's been said about him because I do think there is a level of ability for somebody that size that is totally unique in the history of the game. And, Tommy has said many times before that the emergence of Wembanyama has people looking back at Wilt and recognizing, oh my God, how did he do what he did? And there is some resurrection of Wilt Chamberlain's career through the performance of Victor Wembanyama. And I like that, by the way, because there's no statistical outlier like Wilt Chamberlain in the history of team sports, major team sports. No statistical outlier that resembles what he did. 50 and 25 averages for a season, scoring 100 points in a game. He was a 56% career free throw shooter. I think somebody did the study once and said if he was just 65%, he would have averaged 55 in one season. I mean, and Wembanyama, though, I don't see the averaging of 50. I don't see the averaging of, I think he certainly could get to the averaging of 30 a game at some point. What did he average this year, Max? What was his regular season average points? It wasn't, no way was it 30. It had to be somewhere around 25-ish. 25 on the dot. He averaged 25 points per game on the dot in the regular season. And so far in the postseason, he's averaging 23.3 points per game. He had 6 turnovers, and he sometimes gets a little bit too zealous as a ball handler. When you're 7'5", that ball hits the ground, it's got a lot of ground to cover to get back to your hand. And that gives a lot of people chances defensively, especially smaller guys, to get a hand on the ball. And that's what happened last night. He's got to play better. He's got to play better. Everybody for San Antonio has to play better. But I'm impressed with the Knicks. Really impressed, because I don't think we saw the best of the Knicks last night. I don't think we saw the best of Anunoby until the fourth quarter. I don't think that we saw the best of Brunson, anywhere near the best of Brunson, until the end. But he was 12 for 31. He was struggling, and he had 4 turnovers, 3 in the first half. Now, I think as a team, they only had 1 turnover in the second half. It was his. But, yeah, I think the Knicks can even be better than they were last night. Does put San Antonio into one of those spots, though, in a certainly it's more beneficial to be in a 2-2-1-1-1 format than the old 2-3-2 format. But you got to think that they better win tomorrow night or they're in deep, deep trouble. Although I have a feeling each one of these games are going to take on a completely different kind of look and feel. I don't know that we're going to get a consistent theme. It's possible that the Spurs come back and rout the Knicks in game 2, and Cat looks terrible and Brunson's pulled early because he's not shooting it well. And then you get something in game 3 where, I think we're going to see this thing go the distance. I do, even after last night. But, man, the Knicks haven't lost a playoff game in 42 days. So for it to go to the distance, they're going to have to lose 3 over the next, 9 days, 10 days. That seems kind of unlikely, too, with the way they've been playing. All right, 301-230-0980. Plenty of time on the show today to get to Brandon Ayuk. We will. But we're going to start with last night's game 1. Phone lines are open, 301-230-0980. Is New York now in position to win this series? Should they be the favorite? They are. Why not? Whatever else you want to mention about last night's game. Calls next.
It's obviously, I mean, it's not we've been down in a series before, never in the finals, obviously. But I'm not kicking myself about anything, really. I mean, I'm not worried the slightest.
From Cha on Wemby, who you just heard, Kevin, please tell me that you didn't just say that Wemby is average. No, I did not say that. Cha, I didn't say that. What I said was that offensively, and I've watched every single San Antonio playoff game, he is still a bit of a work in progress. He is certainly the most unique player that we've ever seen at 7'5", the most skilled. And defensively, I'm not sure we've ever seen an influencer and more of an impact player center in the paint near the rim, and really his extension goes outside of the paint. I mean, he basically from underneath the basket can take one big step and block a corner three. And we've never seen anything like that. But I think offensively, and I've watched every single one of these playoff games, it's inconsistent. It's not super fluid consistently. That's all I'm saying. There's at 7'5", the if you never saw him play, you'd say, I don't know, can he dunk? Can he catch? Because does he have good hands? Can he block shots? He can do all that. He's got great hands. He's got great feet. He's got great timing. He's got great instincts, all of that. But offensively, he gets a little bit, I think overconfident at times as a ball handler. And I think, honestly, I think sometimes it's like, hey, big boy, get down to the block. We'll throw it to you there and just turn around and dunk on somebody or turn around and shoot over somebody. And he plays on the perimeter a lot. And, the ball handling is erratic. It's unbelievably skilled for somebody his size, but it's still not, he's not Kyrie Irving handling the basketball. That's not what he is. He's just a 7'5" guy who handles it really well, which is something we've never really seen before. But I personally, if I were a Spurs fan, I'd rather on a night like last night, I'd say get your big backside down on the block and dominate. And it's not his preference, I don't think. And it's not what they do. And there's a lot of him on the perimeter. There's a lot of him, initiating the offense is almost a guard. And plus he, runs the floor really well, and he'll catch in transition and fire threes. Last night was not a good night for Wembanyama. He did not play well. He had 6 turnovers and could have had more than that. 26 and 12 is a great stat line, points, rebounds, but 6 of 21 from the floor and 6 turnovers, I think, were more pronounced than the totals. Whereas with Brunson got 30 on 12 of 31 from the floor, but the majority of big shots down the stretch closing out the opponent were Brunson's makes, and he was more impactful on the game. I didn't think he played well, though, in the first half at all. He looked rusty. The Knicks looked rusty shooting the basketball, except for really Shamet. He was the only one. All right, 301. We're opening up phones, guys. Your chance to talk NBA Finals. This is game 1. The Knicks were an underdog last night. They were a big underdog before the series began last night. They're now the favorite to win the series. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Will the Knicks win this series after watching game 1? Yes or no? Why or why not? And anything else you've got on last night's game. Let's go with our guy, Joe in Springfield. Joe, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
What's up, Joe?
So I'm going to say, yes, they do have a chance to win the series. The Knicks do. I mean, is it possible the Spurs come back tomorrow night and go back to the Garden, tied up 1 game apiece? It is possible. But, I mean, Wemby definitely has to pick it up. I mean, look, you just mentioned the double-double he had. Yeah, it's great, but he struggled a lot. How many shots did he miss? And Karl-Anthony Towns definitely, I mean, earlier in the first half, Karl-Anthony Towns was basically going right past him like 3 or 4 times. After the 4th time, I'm like, man, it's like he's acting like Wemby is like, wait, is this the finals? I mean, it's his first time out. Karl-Anthony Towns like he was having a field day in that first half. Josh Hart, I mean, he is the one that stole the show last night. 15 rebounds. I mean, and the funny thing, Kevin, is in the first half, he got into early foul trouble. He had to get 3 fouls, and he had to go sit on the bench. And I thought, this is not going to be good for Josh Hart, but, man, he rebounded big time. You know, the one question I have for you, Kevin, is that I think it was the end of the first half when Karl-Anthony Towns picked up an offensive foul because they overturned that call. How close is that to being a flagrant one on Wemby, the way he basically, like, hit Towns in the face and Towns fell hard to the floor?
I know. Wemby,
I don't know.
It was close. Look, I thought last night, you know, once again, they let these guys play. And that's been the theme to this postseason in almost every series that I've been truly immersed in. They are letting guys they are letting guys make contact over and over again. And where you see it the most on the perimeter, you know, a lot of times there's always contact between bigs and in the paint and down on the block. But we've seen, you know, grabbing, clutching, shirt pulling, you know, bumping, you know, on the perimeter. I mean, it's hard to advance the ball in some of these games. I thought Brunson got fouled 5 times in the first half and it wasn't called. He missed one shot on a drive to the rim where his shirt was literally yanked right in front of the referees, and it was not called. So they're letting them go. They're letting them play. And at this point, you know, it's going to take something egregious to get a flagrant. And that's been the case pretty much throughout the postseason. Thank you, Joe. Let's go to JYD. JYD, what's up?
Hey, how you doing, my man? Good
what's
to
up,
hear you.
JYD?
Well, it's like this. First of all, if Big John was alive, and I'm sure he's rolling over in his grave, see a guy 7'4", 7'5", out that far shooting jumpers like he's KD.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that he can't shoot. He can shoot.
Oh yeah, he can.
But he needs he doesn't have a go-to shot. And his go-to shot should be down low, like you said, with either a turnaround jump shot or why in the hell? Look, I do believe that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is still alive.
He is.
Why don't you go in the summertime and learn how to shoot the skyhook?
I don't even think JYD, he needs to shoot a skyhook. Like, when you see him around the rim, he's either dunking on somebody or doing that where he stretches the arm out and drops it in like Wilt used to do. I mean, I didn't watch Wilt, but I've seen the highlights. I think you can make the case in this series that I mean, his right now, there are too many quick hands defensively. You know, whether it's Hart, whether it's Anunoby, whether it's Bridges, whether it's a guy like Alvarado when he comes in off the bench. Too many quick hands for a 7'5" guy to be putting the ball on the floor 20, 25 feet from the basket trying to create. And that's where he gets into trouble. And I think in this series, if I'm them, we're starting down low. And we're going to make we're going to make Anunoby or somebody else guard our 7'5" guy who only needs a drop step to basically dunk or lay it in over everybody.
You're not letting me talk, Kevin.
Well, I'm going to now. Now it's your turn. Go ahead.
I'm saying that we can agree that he needs to be down low. Mm-hmm. Now, the second thing, why do you have Harrison Barnes out there playing and taking up that much time on the floor when the guy can't hit the backside of a barn?
You know why? First of all, I mean, Harrison Barnes is like 64 years old now or whatever he is. But I think last night, because of that series against Oklahoma City, you were going to get more guys into the game. Now, Bryant and Johnson, you know, and Cornette, you know, for his minutes, they play a lot. And Harper actually is coming in off the bench. This team. Yeah, you're not letting me talk now. I'm with you though on Barnes, right? He is not He's not the Barnes that we saw in the early days of Golden State. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, JYD, thanks. Appreciate it. Let's go to Lap. Lap, go ahead. What do you got?
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
How are you, Lap?
Yeah, if the series goes the way it's going, man, with San Antonio hits them in the mouth and then they come back and go on a run. If it goes like that, yeah. But if Wemby has an out-of-body experience, kind of like what Giannis did to Phoenix, when he realized, like, ain't nobody in this series can guard me,
right,
then, it's going to be a difference. Yeah, he has raw talent, Kevin. He's still, like JYD said, he doesn't even have really a go-to move. He's tall, he's skilled, but he doesn't have a go-to move.
That's true.
What I'm saying?
I agree with that.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, Kevin. One day, if you ever get a chance, man, because I be hearing on Gil's Arena or the Gil, whatever it's called now, but Brandon Jennings always say the 90s is trash. Now, he does know that the 90s, reigned in a 10-year, span. Not just Jordan, but, you had Iverson the latter part of the 90s. You had Kobe in the latter part. And what about Penny in the beginning part of the 90s?
With Shaq.
So if you can address the 90s to these guys, please, one day, because they swear up and down that the 90s was trash, man. It ain't nobody in Brandon Jennings.
Who'd you say does?
Brandon Jennings and Nick Young.
Brandon Jennings.
Nick Young on the Gill. Yeah, he said the 90s
is the Gill the Arenas podcast?
Yeah, but they.
Okay. I think we have something
Gill
from Gill's podcast.
They changed the name, so yeah. But it's whatever Skip Bayless and them is on it now. But yeah, I just wanted you to address it one day if you get a chance about the 90s. Yeah, because that's crazy to me. Yeah.
Thanks, Lap. Appreciate it. 301-230-0980. We got a phone line open if you want to jump in with reactions to Game 1 last night. I do think that it is true that right now Wembanyama's offensive game is still a work in progress. There isn't necessarily a go-to. I think his go-to should be on the block, maybe coming off a low block-to-block screen. They throw it to him and he turns and dunks like Shaq would on somebody. Or he turns and shoots over somebody. He's got great feel on his shooting around the rim. I mean, you can see it. He's got great touch off the glass. He's got really good, he's just got great shooting feel around the bucket. And he doesn't even need it at 7'5" because nobody's going to block his shot. There's no jump hook yet, really, that you see with him. But, yeah, he gets, I think, enamored a bit too much with how skilled he is for his size as a ball handler. And I think it gets him in trouble in some games. I do. I mean, I'm looking through all the game log, the playoff game log for him, because I want to see if he's had any other games with that many turnovers. It's 6 last night. It's the most of the postseason for him. He's had 4, though, on 6 different occasions. He's had 4 turnovers. And I would bet you any amount of money those turnovers have come on the perimeter. When he drives, again, when you're that big, that ball isn't low to the ground as a ball handler. No matter how much you're going to bend to keep that dribble low and protected, it's impossible to really protect it as a 7'5" ball handler. If on a drive anyway. It's one thing on the perimeter, your defender's in front of you, there's no other traffic. You're putting it between your legs a couple of times and you're going to go either by him and pull up or you're going to shoot the 3. But when he drives off the dribble, that ball is exposed. And he's a good ball handler for his size. I think he's got to be careful in a series like this, and even OKC took advantage of some of that at times. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Bernard. Bernard, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin. I've listened to your show in the past, and a lot of times when you bring up Wilt, right, and talk about numbers, right, I still think numbers have to translate to winning, and, Tommy likes to bring it up too, about his stats, but one of his stats that Tommy likes to ignore is he is a 50% free throw shooter.
56 career, I think it was, something like that. Yeah.
Right, and so maybe they would have won some of those games.
Sure.
When he played in those playoff series.
Yeah. I mean, remember what I've said about Wilt. But let me just be clear, because what I've said about Wilt, which is true, is he is a statistical outlier in team sports. We've never seen a bigger gap between his numbers and everybody else's in team sports history. I'm not saying that he's the greatest player that's ever lived. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Russell wasn't a better overall player and winner. He was a two-time NBA champ. It's not like he didn't win the title. He won 2 titles, one with Philly and one with the Lakers. Elijah Wan has 2 titles. That's it. A lot of guys have 2, and that's a good number. With him, it seems to be a bit short because he's compared to Russell. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Kareem's got 6.
Yeah.
Kareem been to 10 NBA finals, 13 conference championships. You can't just sneeze at that. Like, at the end of the day, you play to win. And he's ahead of them.
And he had great teammates, too, to your point.
He did.
I mean, we know that Kareem had great teammates, but Wilt had great teammates, too. He played with West. He played with Baylor. He played with Goodrich. So, yeah, but, he had the Celtics in front of him every year, and they were just better.
They were. But as far as Wembanyama, that was one of the reasons I called, too, was I think it's just he's in, like, the infant stages, and I can't even get a grasp of what he's going to be yet. I think for me, it's still an unknown.
I hear you on that. I do. I think that's what I'm trying to express is that, and I've gotten a little bit of ahead of it too, but I'm trying to be focused more on the fact that what is true about Wemby right now, and you're a basketball fan and I'm a basketball fan, is we've never seen somebody of his size have the skill level that he has. That is an absolute 100% fact. But what he does with it, go ahead.
You're right, too, about defense, 100%. Like, you really hit it on the head with the defensive part. To me, he's more impactful on that part of side of the court right now.
Right now.
I saw Kareem's entire career. Even Kareem couldn't, make guys change shots like this.
No.
These guys are thinking like they're worried when they go down that lane.
It's unbelievable. I can't remember watching games where more guys drive and then veer out of the paint looking to pass back out rather than shoot a floater or, try to get it to the rim. Although I'll tell you, that's why I loved Karl Anthony Towns last night. He said to hell with it, and he went to the rim, and he was the opposite of Holmgren. He made Wemby work, and he really played exceptionally well. Really well.
I mean, I want to give Holmgren a mulligan for that series. I mean, I don't want to, make too drastic. I know Ben was saying they might, look to ship him, but I still kind of see, because remember in 2008, Gasol had a very bad finals against Boston. And then he got a little bit more muscular, a little bit more.
But
physical.
It wasn't fearful. It wasn't fearful like it was the other night.
Yeah.
He was terrified.
Anyway. Yeah. Listen, he didn't support his, he didn't provide what they're expecting, and
Yeah. Thanks, Bernard, for the call. Really appreciate it. Bones, Ralphie, everybody else on hold, stay there. We'll do one more segment of calls on last night's game 1. Then we'll get to Brandon Ayuk at 11. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980, theteam980.com. We're on also our YouTube channel, the Team 980 YouTube channel, where you can watch this show every day. Hit the subscribe button and hit the like button when you get there. Ralphie in Rockville, what do you got on last night's game one?
Hey, Kevin, do you hear me?
I got you, Ralphie.
Hello?
You're on.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Kevin. So Victor Wembanyama, he still has a lot of flaws on offense. You're correct about that. But I think the bigger picture is that if the Knicks win, I think Jalen Brunson is going to be mentioned in as the tier 1 starter. Not only that, I think a lot of fans and a lot of people who cover the NBA, like Will Bond, Poisonizer, even Mad Dog, they're going to start harping on the fact that the Knicks did it right. And a lot of people forget that Jalen Brunson was supposed to be a wizard, and when he was a free agent. A lot of people forget that. And one of the only reasons why he became a Knick was because his father was, his father's Rick Brunson, and he's with the Knicks organization. And I think that going forward, all the teams that win championships in, I would say, the next 10 years, if they were a tanking team, nobody's going to really respect it. And that's why OKC is so hated amongst fans, because they did it in a way where they tanked for so many years and they were horrendous with it. And a lot of the players that they selected are okay players. They're a really good defensive team, but as you saw, Chet still has a lot of flaws in his game. And I also think Mike Brown deserves a lot of credit on how he's coaching the team, because to me, there's not that much of a difference between Towns and Chet. I think Chet is a really good player. I can't believe people are just turning their back on Chet after a bad series. I think it's really a coaching thing, in my opinion. I mean, you have to instill that confidence in Chet. Chet is a great player. People forget that. So I think Mike Brown deserves a lot of credit. And I wonder, how do you think? Here's my question to you. Do you think that if the Wizards, I know it's recollection, but do you think if the Wizards signed Jalen Brunson and back in when he was a free agent with Luka, because he couldn't shine with Luka because Luka's a ball dominant player. Do you think that he could have turned the Wizards franchise around and they could have did it the right way instead of the tanking? Even if we get AJ Bonta, nobody's going to respect it down the line if we win a championship. People are going to say that Wizards did it the wrong way. So what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I disagree with that. I don't think that the majority of people think they're doing it the wrong way, and I don't think that opinion is the prevailing opinion on Oklahoma City or Detroit, for that matter. So I would disagree with that. I don't know what Brunson would have been here. This place seems to be a place, that wasn't necessarily the right, sort of atmosphere, the right environment for winning. There's certainly a stench around this franchise that's existed for a long period of time. Now, with respect, you said something else about there was something else you said at the beginning that I should have written down.
About Chet?
Yeah, about Holmgren. Look, Holmgren's a really good player. I agree with you, but it wasn't coaching, in my opinion, that was the issue in the series or in Game 7. Chet Holmgren was legitimately angst-ridden and terrified. He choked. He did not have the ability to overcome the fear that he had, the performance anxiety. He had performance anxiety, and I'm sure Wemby was a big part of it. And because the performances got worse and it just sort of steamrolled to the point where literally he treated the ball as if it was a bomb in Game 7. He couldn't get rid of it fast enough. I mean, the biggest indictment on Holmgren in Game 7 was 2 shot attempts. It wasn't 4 points and 4 rebounds. It was 2 shot attempts. That speaks to somebody who either just didn't understand the occasion or was frightened by it. And I think it was much more the latter. And I think that is a problem. That's one of those things that's so alarming that, yeah, he's talented against guys his size or smaller, but he got completely intimidated start to finish in that series, so much to the point where he cowered. And he basically, it was a fight or flight situation, and he took the flight option in Game 7. That would be troubling to me if I were an Oklahoma City executive. Now, he's young, and you can get over that. But he needs a sports psychologist after that series, no doubt. Bones, finish it up for us.
My main man, Kevin.
What's up, Bones?
Shout out to Mag. Shout out to G from the shop. Hey, Kevin, man, what you saw last night is the same thing what I was saying in the Oklahoma series with the Spurs against the Oklahoma series, right? It's immaturity, right? You know, they got the talent, but they have to mature. You know what I mean? And then they have to. I like Miss Johnson as a coach, right? But you know, at some point, you know, they got to get Wemby to start. Wemby's supposed to be dominating, man. Wemby should be dominating, man. All he got to do is get down there in that box and raise his hands up in the air.
I hear you.
He needs to keep his hands up in the air the whole game, man. His hands need to be up in the air or even spread out wide, man. Wemby is a threat, and he hasn't really realized the potential that he has yet. You know, okay, see, I mean, the Spurs, they very young, they're immature. Castle is immature. You understand? He has to develop. You know what I mean? They got that boy Dylan Hopper. I love him, man. I love him, man. Oh man, I didn't know he was that talented, man. I'd rather see Dylan Hopper bringing the ball down instead of De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox been in the league 13 years, man. He looked like he was lost, man. I ain't taking nothing away from the Knicks. As you said, the Knicks have a very good team for once. You understand? And Mike Brown is doing a marvelous job in gelling them together, man. The way that he rotating them in and out and they playing their roles, I love it, man. I don't have nothing against it, but I want to see this young Spurs team, you understand, take it to the level. If they don't get it this year, man, they definitely got to bring it next year, man. Wemby,
thanks, Bones. Appreciate it. Good call as always. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at, by the way, the game tomorrow night point spread. The Spurs are 6.5 point favorites. They were only 4.5 point favorites last night. So I'm expecting the Spurs to bounce back tomorrow night and even up this series. And I would bet you that Wemby plays more on the block offensively, or at the very least at the elbow. Let's get him started, at the free throw line and in. We didn't see a lot of that, which we saw, at times in the series before, and especially in the Minnesota series. All right, when we come back, Brandon Ayuk, an arrest warrant out for a misdemeanor exhibition of speed violation. We'll talk about that and whether or not it should be disqualifying for fans. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the Team980.com.
with his future. What is your sense that you guys are friends? What is your sense of where he is with his football future right now?
I don't know. I don't have a sense on it. That is my brother, and we have a personal relationship. But his football future, that's out of my control.
Jaden Daniels, everybody, talking about Brandon Ayuk last week during OTAs. So here's the latest on Brandon Ayuk. This happened after the show yesterday. A Santa Clara District Attorney's Office issued an arrest warrant for Brandon Ayuk. He is sought on a misdemeanor charge for exhibition of speed. This stems from the December 2025 incident outside of the 49ers stadium, Levi's Stadium. This is that YouTube video that we've already seen and we've already talked about, him posting himself speeding around the stadium, driving perhaps more than 100 miles per hour on a road outside of the stadium. Now, why, this many months later are charges being brought? Well, according to Santa Clara police, authorities, finally got around to analyzing the video and determined that Ayuk owned a vehicle similar to the one in the video. And they investigated and found that it was indeed him on the YouTube video. I think we kind of all knew that anyway. He actually apologized about the video after the fact. And it finally got sent to the district attorney's office and they investigated. And many months later, here's the misdemeanor charge. I think that's a little bit odd. Just that's my reaction to that, is it took that long. That video went viral, on YouTube. And the exact speed is actually a TBD because the vehicle that he was driving, a Cadillac CT5V Blackwing, can either be set to miles per hour or kilometers per hour. It was a speedometer that showed 111, but it was unclear as to whether it was miles per hour or kilometers per hour. Kilometers per hour would equal 69 miles per hour, still well above the 40 mile per hour speed limit. But there is a belief that it was miles per hour and that he was doing 111. He apologized about it. Yesterday, in the wake of this, he posted photos and a video on Instagram of himself at a racetrack in a black Mercedes-Benz traveling at high speeds, racing around the track. If you're going to speed, that's the place to do it, at an actual racetrack. Look, we've been talking about Brandon Ayuk for a while. And this is just the latest in a long list of news items that would, certainly not make him look good. I have to say that let me cut to the chase on this, because I think that this is the question right now for all of you. And if you want to jump on the phone lines at 301-230-0980, you're more than welcome. Is the latest on Brandon Ayuk, this arrest warrant, is it a disqualifier in terms of wanting him on our team for you? Is it a disqualifier, yes or no? And we do have our Waldorf Honda Twitter poll up, correct, Max?
We sure do.
We do. And what is the question?
So the question today, does the latest behavior from Brandon Ayuk disqualify him, in your eyes, from joining the Commanders?
Yes or no are the answers. What are the results so far?
So far, I'm not sure what's going on with Twitter or the algorithm, but we still need votes on the polls. So go jump over to the Team 980 Twitter and make your voice heard.
Our poll of the day, driven by Waldorf Honda. It all starts with a click, waldorfhonda.com. So is the latest on Brandon Ayuk a disqualifier in terms of you wanting him on our team or not? Look, you may have already disqualified him for the judgments that he's already made. The forfeiture of somewhere between $30 and $40 million. The number hasn't really been defined. Everybody out there, including our guy from Spot Track, Mike Giannetti, says it's somewhere in that range of $30 to $40 million that got voided. That was voided guaranteed money. How does that happen? It happens when somebody's an idiot on the other side, and all they have to do is show up to the team's facility to get their knee looked at, and he couldn't even do that. Bad judgment when he put out the social media video of Jaden in his first set of OTAs when Jaden was reaching out to a good friend to ask him for help, and he posted some of that practice video on social media. The constant sort of MIA status of Ayuk. The team can never get in touch with him. He doesn't return calls. He clearly does not like anybody there, and they don't clearly like him either. The ability that he had even recently to just show up for an OTA day and sort of force their hand, didn't do that either. Is the latest on Ayuk a disqualifier for you in terms of wanting him on the team, yes or no? 301-230-0980. So let me cut to the chase for me. This standalone incident is not a disqualifier for me. I mean, the disqualifier for me comes with the same things that I've talked about for months now, and that is if Adam Peters and Dan Quinn in the front office and the people that have all of the information that we don't have, including physical health, knee recovery, state of mind, state of enthusiasm to play football, trying to prove something, all of those things. And by the way, getting him on a prove it deal, nothing risk heavy. I am not in favor of signing Brandon Ayuk to a real contract. Only a 1-year prove it deal makes sense to me for a guy with this recent track record. Because I think, yesterday's warrant, first of all, what took them so long for this? But secondly, like this pales in comparison. I mean, just last week, we haven't even mentioned this, I don't think, because I was on vacation last week, but Josh Jacobs, the running back in Green Bay, domestic violence arrest, booked on charges of domestic abuse, strangulation, disorderly conduct. Nolan Smith recently in Philadelphia, reckless driving. Remember James Pierce? I mean, he may be going to jail. Jordan Addison was doing 125 or whatever, and was accused of trespassing in addition to, speeding issues. I mean, this is like nothing compared to the long list of NFL player arrests. I mean, nothing. It's a misdemeanor charge. We get felony charges against players all the time. So this as a standalone is not a disqualifier for me. I'm still where I have been with one, update, and that is it's becoming more clear to me that the biggest issue with Ayuk, and I don't know anything about his physical health, so that may still be the biggest issue, is that he's not fully healthy. We don't know that to be true or not true. I'm assuming that if they ever signed him, he's physically fit and that the knee recovered perfectly and he's ready to go physically. But the thing that just constantly comes up is this guy has terrible judgment, limited, clearly. He may be an idiot. Now, there are a lot of idiots in the NFL that are great players. Like, that cannot be a precondition or a prerequisite to being on the roster. Like, you're not that brilliant. Yeah, I don't think most of them are. Some are. Some are really, really smart, and others aren't. Some of the best players in the league are intelligent, highly intelligent. Some of them aren't intelligent at all. That's not a prerequisite for being on the roster. And right now, that's the one thing from afar that you can say definitively about Brandon Ayuk is that he's got bad, limited judgment that would speak to some level of, intellectual defect. Does that impact the locker room? Does that impact his ability on the field? That's for Adam Peters and others to determine. But yesterday's event for me as a standalone is not a disqualifier. As an addition to the long list now of poor judgment, yeah, I'm concerned about that. I am. But, he didn't go out and strangle somebody. He didn't go out and, there's nothing. That charge is a minimal charge. I mean, following it up with the Instagram of him at a racetrack, I don't know, maybe you could chalk that up to sense of humor. I won't. I'll chalk it up to more bad judgment. But this team still needs really good players. And I've never advocated, and I won't advocate for anything other than an absolute no to low risk offering to Ayuk. That makes the reward sweet, but if you don't get to that, then you're okay. What can he really do? Well, if they think he can do damage by just being in the locker room or being in our community, well, then don't sign him. But they have much more information on that than I do. So that, to me, is not a standalone disqualifier. That, as an addition, isn't necessarily a disqualifier. I am obviously not a big fan of the fact that I think this guy is a moron from afar. He certainly doesn't appear to be super bright. And, but again, that's not a prerequisite for being a star in the NFL. So I still want them to add more talent, more playmaking ability to their offense. And I'll stick with what I've said all along. If you tell me I'm getting the Brandon Ayuk health-wise of 2023, and there is a reasonable explanation as to what happened in San Francisco, and I don't think, as Adam Peters, Lance Newmark, et cetera, that I'm getting a bad person, then I'm still in. 301-230-0980, your calls after this. Is the latest on Brandon Ayuk a disqualifier for you in terms of wanting him on our team? 301-230-0980. My answer is, as a standalone, it's not for me. I mean, this is a minimal sort of traffic violation compared to, everything else that happens with players around the league. That's not it. But on top of all of the other poor decisions he seems to make, it is an indication of somebody that's limited, certainly in judgment ability, and doesn't learn from previous mistakes judgment-wise. So that's concerning. But again, I think there's so much, realistically, that we just don't know about him. And it may be that our team can't find out enough about him right now because, A, he's not accessible per the rules, because he is currently, a 49er. But the 49ers don't even know much about his situation because he's not findable or hasn't been findable at times, although he did post himself speeding around a racetrack in a Mercedes-Benz yesterday. It's hardly unusual for athletes, professional athletes, to enjoy driving fast in cars. But overall, his judgment, his intellect doesn't seem to be super impressive. But again, I don't think you'd, find a bunch of rocket scientists in the NFL in general to begin with. I'm still where I've been, which is if this guy's healthy, if they think he is the guy that he was starting to become in 2023, and you can get him with little to no risk contractually, and you don't think he is going to be a bad guy, a bad person, I would still be up for it if they ended up wanting to sign him if and when he's going to be available at some point, because the 49ers are certainly not going to pay him another penny. 301-230-0980. Max, do you have an answer for this?
Yeah. So this specific incident, I wouldn't call it disqualifying, but like, as you said, the past posts and the clear lack of better judgment. I think the Instagram post yesterday, at best, very funny bit. At worst, he's an idiot. So it really, it's up to AP and the coaching staff to kind of make that determination, whether it's going to be worth it or not. But if you were going to bring him in, it would have to be, like you said, minimal risk to the team and all of that. So I wouldn't say it's disqualifying, but I would rather look elsewhere. I'd rather bring in Diggs, rather trade for Brian Thomas Jr., something like that.
301-230-0980. Let's get to what you guys think. Brian in Frederick, is the arrest warrant for misdemeanor exhibition of speed the final nail in the coffin for you on Brandon Ayuk?
I have been so done with him, and I'm tired of hearing about him. We're wasting so much time talking about him.
We're not, really.
Like you just said, he's not. Yeah, you are. He's not even available, like you said.
Yeah, but he's going to be.
Okay, you just said he's not even available. Why are we wasting time?
No.
They don't want
No. I said he's going. We all know he's going to be available.
Yeah, he's a waste of time. Go with Diggs and let's move on.
I wouldn't mind going with Diggs and moving on. I wouldn't mind that. But I think it's an interesting conversation for sure. But Diggs has played more recently. Diggs, gets into trouble, but got out of trouble and had all those charges. Was found not guilty on all those charges that were up, that he was up against. TC, go ahead.
Thank you, Kevin, for taking my call. Kevin, I'm with you and what you said. I will bring them in personally. I will bring them in, and let them know and lay down rules that, hey, anything goes down, boom, you're out of here. But the deal is, way Adam Peterson and Dan Quinn preach character, they're not going to bring them in. That they can't. The way they preach the character issue and are made of the right stuff on the team, and these guys, it is no way they can bring them in. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that at all. Furthermore, I would try to go after actually Thomas guy, a third round pick or whatever the case may be, and make that trade. That's what I would do.
You're talking about Brian Thomas in Jacksonville.
Brian Thomas. That's what I do. Yeah. I've been wanting to try to do that. I wanted to try to do that from the beginning, when it was the draft time, trying to do that or whatever the case may be. But that's what I would be interested in. But as far as IU, It is a no-brainer. I would do that with minimum risk, yes, but this our team and what they preach, it is no way they can do it. It is no way at all. Period. They just can't do it. They can't do it. So that's my take on it.
All right. Thanks for the call. This is one of those it would be so great to really know what Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and the front office and probably even Jaden, gets roped into some of these conversations, what they really think of Ayuk. I mean, there's a reason there's been so much smoke around Ayuk in Washington. I understand that it goes back to the relationship that Jaden and Brandon Ayuk had playing together and being good friends from Arizona State. And during the summer in which he was trying to negotiate a long-term contract, positioning himself to get traded to Washington, wanting that, publicly stating that, all of that. I understand where it comes from, but we've had some reporting, over the spring, pre-draft, post-draft, that it's only a matter of time. When the 49ers decide to do what they're going to do, Washington's going to be the team that he's going to want to play for, and there's a mutual desire. We had that reporting a few weeks ago. I think it was Breer. It just would be nice to really know the truth on what they think and what they know. And it's possible that they don't know enough yet, and they haven't made up their mind. Let's go to Paul and Frederick. Paul, was the latest news on Brandon Ayuk, the arrest warrant, is that a final nail in the coffin disqualifier for you wanting him on the team?
Hey, Kevin, no, not at all. Don't worry about that. I would say all the other stuff isn't disqualifying either. His crazy behavior, let it go. Bring him in on that one-year deal. But here's the rub, that one-year incentive-laden contract could sow the seeds of discontent when he does get here and he performs. He could be miserable and start complaining. Then Adam Peters has a tough choice to make.
Look, I would love that to be the scenario, right? He signs for a very, minimal deal and performs at a high level and feels vastly underpaid. Let's get to that point because it means he's played well if we get to that point. Let's go to Athen. Athen, go ahead. Athen, it was great to meet Kevin, you at Tommy's event also. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. It was a great time and looking forward to it again. And I'm still waiting for you to announce the Gamblers All In this fall, right before college football, the NFL starts, a meetup point where all the degenerates can get together and meet with you to get futures picks and talk about the futures bets for the season.
I'm not a big futures player. I mean, every NFL season, I'll lob in 3 or 4, sometimes 5, season win total bets, but that's pretty much it. I'm not a big futures bettor, and I'm definitely not a prop bettor. Prop bettors are what the casinos, what the sports books call profit margin. So I stay away from that and stick with the highest, odds probabilities, which are straight bets with, the best vig you can get. Go ahead.
Well, your producer is the degenerate of all degenerates.
Whoa.
We'll talk about that.
Not about me.
Hey, you're the best, Max. I love you.
Love you
But,
too,
listen, I'm all out on this because it's nothing but a distraction. If he comes here and he's walking across the street illegally in D.C., it'll make the news. If he's down at some club on U Street hitting the bong, it's going to hit the news. So no, I'm all out. I'm out. It's a distraction now. He's going to be micromanaged when he's here.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
So no,
it is legal. You do know that, right?
Of course, but they'll twist it into being something because he'll do a video of him hitting the bong,
and Laramie,
and then it'll be like
him and Tunsil.
Exactly.
Tunsil had the biggest bong contraption I've ever seen. It was quite impressive.
Well, everybody's got to have goals in life, but that was his at the time.
Yeah. I mean, this guy really does. I hope I'm wrong, but man, you talk about a stretch of a couple of years of just one bad decision after another. And no decision was as bad as allowing the team, through your apparent lack of contract follow through, to void between $30 and $40 million of guaranteed money. It's unprecedented what happened.
He's not the brightest. He's not the brightest.
It doesn't
crayon
appear
in the
to
box,
be.
But
I'll tell you
Kevin,
one thing: if you watched him at the end of 23, he was a hell of a receiver.
Yeah, it just. I mean, I hope he catches on somewhere and gets a second chance, but it's not going to be here. And I hope you enjoyed your trip and possibly maybe another new member of the family on the way.
No big news,
okay.
nothing like that.
Okay.
Thanks, Athan.
Okay, got it.
Appreciate it. Paulie, go ahead. Congrats on last night.
Hail to the devil. Yeah, man. Orange and blue skies, man.
Yeah.
I told you, hey, shout out Tibbs, man. Let me shout out Tibbs, because one thing about the Knicks, they don't never stop playing.
Is Paulie's phone seem distant to you, Max? It seems like he's not speaking into the phone. Is that me? What'd you say?
Are we on speaker, Paulie?
Are we on? You got us on speaker?
No, I ain't got you on speaker. I just think it's the area I'm in.
All right. Well, pipe him up. Go ahead.
Yeah, but like I said, shout out to Tibbs, man. And one thing about the Knicks, they don't stop playing. They keep the pressure on you, and that came from Tibbs.
Yeah.
And we give Tibbs his just due on that one, man. But as far as Brandon Ayuk, listen, the nail ain't never. It hasn't been not one nail in the coffin for me. I mean, the man, but he definitely needs to get out of 49ers right now. He needs to get away from that organization. And I think the longer
he doesn't control that.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying that it seems the longer he's there, is the worse it's going to get for him. So hopefully he can get out of that situation. I was telling Max, it reminds me of the college player who goes back to who goes pro. It goes back to his college and gets in trouble on campus. He needs to get away from Santa Clara,
right,
or wherever he's at. You know what I mean? So, but the coffin, it ain't no nail in the coffin. You know what I mean? It ain't even out one. So we'll just see how it play out. Now, I'm not like everybody else. I don't think we just sitting around waiting on how they making moves to the roster. They doing what they need to do. So for me, it's just wait and see game for when is he actually going to be available.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing I just would like to see is if that is their plan. And this warrant didn't change the outlook that they have on their plan. I just wonder if there is a drop dead, date in which the plan, essentially gets axed. Because right now it's very possible, if not likely, the 49ers are going to hold on to him until the last possible day, which is August 31st. And then, he's got at that point, he's got a week and a half to get ready for the opener.
If you don't have to give up any compensation for him, to me it should never be a drop date. Why? I mean, we're under the mercy of the 49ers anyway.
I'm not saying that there should be. I'm wondering if they think there is one for them. I kind of agree with you. I mean, who cares if you're not paying him, if it's all on the come, if it's a prove-it deal, and you like the player, who cares if he's not ready until week 3 or week 4? That still gives you 13 weeks of him. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, I don't care if he ain't ready until midway through the season.
Yeah.
If he's an addition to the team, he's an addition to the team. So
right.
I don't have a problem.
It's also possible that they're like, yeah, we don't see it. We don't like the medical, or we just think the guy is, right now in a mental, spot that we don't want to deal with. They may decide that too. I mean, we don't have enough information, really. I mean, unless you're just, black and white, as some people are on everything, and you're just like, this guy had a bad injury, he's behaved poorly, no chance. I don't want anybody like that in my locker room. Okay, fine. Hey, I got to run. Those of you on hold, sorry, I got a guest coming up, Chris Miles from NBA TV, but we can get back to this next hour and open up the phone lines again. Randy Whitman, you'll hear some of my conversation with him next hour as well. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the team980.com. Game 1 in the books, Knicks by 10 in San Antonio last night. I thought it was a highly entertaining game. It wasn't always pretty, but you had some rust versus fatigue, and ultimately the rusty team shred that much faster than maybe the fatigue team did, and the Knicks have a 1-0 NBA Finals series lead. Joining us right now is Chris Miles from NBA TV. Chris was in this market for a while. We love having Chris on the show to talk NBA. I'm going to start with this. Like, if it were the hockey 3-star thing at the end of the game, ranking the stars of the game in order from 3 to 2 to the number 1 star in the game, how would you rank them last night?
Well, so that's an interesting question, right? Because the ebbs and flows of different moments. If you go before the fourth quarter, Jalen Brunson wouldn't be way up there, right? But that shot on Devin Vassell, how he closed out the game, he's got to be number 1, right? Dylan Harper, for me, number 2. Josh Hart. Yeah, Josh Hart. So for me, understanding this, being around the team all year and seeing that Dylan Harper is a kid, and when I say that, I mean he goes to breakfast with his mom, right, on the road. He was in high school 2 years ago. When COVID hit, he was a 12-year-old boy, right? Like, these are the truths about this kid that just shows up and has no fear and has a Jalen Brunson, body at such a young age, right? Like, he's just ready for it. And I think being on a big stage, his first NBA Finals game, to look like the second best player on the floor, and the only thing limiting him is his youth, man, that stood out to me. Jalen Brunson, Dylan Harper, and then Josh Hart. 6'5", grabbing 15 rebounds. There's a quote from a few years ago that, there's 50-50 balls, and he goes to get the 30-70 balls, right? There's a 30%
Eric
chance that he can go
said
get
it,
it.
I think.
Growing up a Knicks fan, watching Josh Hart, I kind of go, that's championship level basketball. That's that try hard that all the coaches are looking for right now. And then I guess if there was a fourth guy, OG Anunoby, he just knows how to get his shot off over Victor Wembanyama. And I didn't mention Vic yet because I thought he had an off game. And covering him all season, that's his off game, right? You'll still see like 20 points, over 10 rebounds, but his efficiency is off, in the wrong spots on defense. He knows that, and that's why the bar for him is just so high that I thought that was a poor performance for him.
I feel like every time I have you on, I'm just sitting here nodding, yep. And I can't believe that in your top 4, you didn't mention Karl Anthony Towns.
Well,
Why?
That's just the thing, right? Because the other guys I had to mention. So to your point, I left him out. Karl Towns has to be in there. I'm surprised at a number of things with Karl Anthony Towns. Number 1, not having any bad fouls. Number 2, the energy. But then I remind myself, hold on, this is a guy that with the Timberwolves went to back-to-back Western Conference Finals, right? Now he's in the NBA Finals, and the Knicks start really becoming contenders when he joins the team. This is a guy that was the number 1 overall pick. This is a guy that on draft night it was like, him or Jahlil Okafor? Him. Right? Here's a guy who sacrificed in college his game to fit in what the team needs. So he's always been a winning player. And I think sometimes when guys are so talented, we look at their flaws and not what they bring to the table.
Yeah, the reason I was surprised, and obviously you recognize that he played a good game, and that's why I asked the question, because I think there were a lot of options. Now, I didn't even think about somebody from the losing team, and you're right, Harper was sensational, and he was the best player on San Antonio. But I just thought Cat was the tone setter last night. There was so much talk about how he was going to have to pull Wemby away, but he had that mindset. And, you watch so much more than I do, but I watch a lot. And there are nights where you're like, come on, Cat, take it over. Do more. And he fancies himself in this postseason to be more of a facilitator. He wants a little bit of the Jokic, comparison. But sometimes you just got to be aggressive. And I thought last night, right from the jump, he was the tone setter for the Knicks. I would have had him as my number 1.
Yeah, and one thing you got to give credit to, that I think we always do this. It's like this with referees and coaches.
When it goes bad, who are the first people we blame? The referees and the coaches. When it goes well, who is the first people we ignore? The referees and the coaches, right? And I think Mike Brown has done a magnificent job of putting a battery in Towns back, right? Getting him involved in different ways. To your point, the Knicks run in their last 12 games, they've won, 12 straight by 10 or more, and it's 272 points that they've won those games by. It really started against the Atlanta Hawks when he had that triple-double. Like, that's the game that it all turned around where you're like, oh, if he's going to do that, then the Knicks are on a different level. And it's been since that day. And you got to give credit to the coaching staff. Like, get them involved. And the thing about basketball is this, you know this, when a guy touches the ball, whether they're scoring or not, if they're involved with the offense, they are more involved with the defense. And I think what we've seen from Towns is he's making better plays because he feels important. And I think under Tibbs, it's a lot of times like, all right, Brunson, go do your thing. Brunson, go save us. And then Towns kind of like, all right, when do I go? When do I know? And what you're seeing in this playoff run is no. We're getting Cat involved early and often, so he feels like he's a big part of what we're trying to accomplish here.
That's such a great point, by the way. And it's funny, I had Randy Whitman on my podcast yesterday, and we ended up talking about something that you just mentioned, because we got into the conversation about ISO teams and, how it really is, it can be very detrimental, 4 players standing around, not touching the ball, not making a defense move, and then what those players feel on the other end. And to your point, when people are involved and successful offensively, they're much more fired up to play defense. Like that exists at almost any level of basketball. Like if you make a shot, you're going back down and you're fired up and you're going to play better defense. And I think it's a really good observation. And I that's why I've enjoyed the Knicks this postseason, Chris, versus last postseason, which I thought was way too much Jalen Brunson ISO. And I don't think we've seen that this postseason for the most part.
Yeah, and he's saving his best for last. The other thing is the way that was going, if you remember the Knicks playoff runs the last 2 years, everybody got hurt. Now you look at it, it's like everybody's fresh. So people ask me the question like, oh, rust or rest? And I'm like, rest. Because if you have a small ankle thing that turns into a calf thing, and it just is downhill from there. And you saw with OG's hamstring, I believe it was 2 years ago, maybe it was last year, where it's like, oh, he's out of the playoffs, and that's the end of the run, right? And now OG, has a little hamstring. You don't even hear about it anymore. Like, it's fit because he had time to rest it and go do all the things that he needs to do to be 100%. And I'm going to tell you right now, if OG Anunoby's not on the floor, he does so much for the Knicks. You're talking about a completely different team. He
really is. I think most casual NBA fans don't understand how great of a two-way player Anunoby is. The 12-game winning streak you mentioned, I think they had 1 6-point win in there. And they also had the overtime win in game 1 against Cleveland, but they did win by double figures. But I've continued to put it in these terms. Like when they tip it up tomorrow night, Chris, for game 2, it will have been 43 days since they last lost a game. That's almost impossible, at playoff time. And I'm just wondering at this point, after they won last night, I don't know where you were before the series. Where were you before the series? Who'd you pick?
Oh, Spurs, and I still have the Spurs.
So you still have the Spurs. So even after last night, you still have the Spurs. So tell me why.
Look, following this team all season, right? About once a month, they have a game like this where it's almost as if they're so young they forget who they are. And go look at the box score, right? Because even we're saying how good Dylan Harper was, as a group, Fox, Harper, Castle, and
Keldon Johnson.
There's somebody else. No, there's someone else. But they were like, I think it's 3 for 19 or 3 for 22. I looked at it before, and I'm like, man. And for Fox, when they really turn the corner, this is a guy who was clutch player of the year in 2023, first guy to win the award. Go look back at my interviews during the season. It's with him. When they found their identity, here, De'Aaron, lead us in the clutch. And I think what's happened is, as Harper has developed and evolved, Fox kind of like stepped back a little bit. And when they get into the late game situations, they've lost that identity. They're going to figure that out. They're going to talk about it today. They're going to talk about it tomorrow. They're going to come together as a team. And I don't think you see, Fox, Harper, and Castle, make 3 threes between them.
Look, after Minnesota won game 1 in San Antonio, I actually, and maybe that was the last time I had you on the show, actually, because it's coming back to me that maybe we talked about this, but I actually gave Minnesota a legitimate chance to win it. I just thought defensively they were as good as OKC was in this postseason, and they really had it going. But obviously, it turns out they just didn't have enough offensively in that series. The Knicks do. I'm surprised that you still like the Spurs in 6, but you're not wrong about what they're capable of doing. And that leads me to Wembanyama, because I've talked a lot about him on the show today. There's been so much. I don't want to say it's hyperbolic, because I don't think it's hyperbolic. I think, you're a lifelong basketball fan. You played. I feel the same way about the sport, and he is totally unique. We've never seen a 7'5" player have this level of skill. But one of the things I talked about, and I'm wondering if you agree with, is I think he gets enamored a bit too much offensively. He's so young. I mean, this is still his first playoff run. With his ability to essentially be a guard, handle the ball, drive it, shoot it from 3. And when you're dribbling the basketball as a 7'5" player, that ball's got a long way to come back up to your hand. And he gets loose with it. He turned it over 6 times last night, and it was all trying to put the ball on the floor and drive it from the perimeter. Do you think that that's an adjustment in game 2?
I think it's an adjustment every single game for him, and I'll tell you why. Watching him in workouts, watching the coaching staff talk to him, they're trying to get him at the elbow down. Hey, go here. Hey, get here. Be strong. If you've seen all of the pregame workout stuff, it's real, right? Like guys bumping him, holding him, grabbing him. I mean, it's like an hour of that every single day. When he gets on the court and he sees a center guarding him, he goes, oh, I'm Kevin Durant. Like his brain just goes there.
Yeah.
That's who he is naturally. He has to be told. He has to be yelled at. He has to be scolded. Get down there because you're unstoppable. And there's something about him being 22 years old where he hasn't figured out yet, if I get here, they can't stop me. He thinks if I'm out here, I can do this, and they can't stop me. When in reality, that's the easiest way to stop him. And he's going to watch the film. He's a student of the game. He's going to listen to his coaching staff again. And what we'll probably see is a 40-point performance from him when he puts that together. But the other thing is, I got to give credit to my guy, Peanut, Mitchell Robinson. That's his nickname.
Yeah.
My friend was his trainer. I don't know if you know his story that he didn't go to college.
Yeah, right.
He stayed with Anthony Davis. Yeah, he stayed with Anthony Davis and my friend Marcel Scott. And my friend was like, hey, I got this kid. And I saw him, I'm like, it's not a kid, that's a monster, right? He is so physical. For Wemby, that's a grown man. Yeah. Wemby's only 22. That is a grown man. Wemby isn't there yet physically. So now, okay, Karl Anthony Towns in the prime of his career, maybe towards the latter half, which is kind of crazy, right? You're facing 2 grown men. So, yeah, he wants to take them out and be like, hey, I'm going to play this way against you because of the physicality. But he's got to get in there. He's got to use his length. And give the Knicks credit, on a couple of those lobs that the Spurs often convert, the Knicks defense was there, and they took that away early, and I think he got a bit discouraged.
You're a New Yorker. Just my son's living up there, and he was going home from work yesterday past Madison Square Garden where the party was. He said, Dad, you just would not believe how insane this city is right now for this. I'm curious, because you've got the answer to this. I don't. Is this number 1, number 2? Where does it rank when they're good?
Oh, it would be like, let me explain it to you. Imagine if the Terps, Washington football team, Caps, Wizards were all at like the number 1 team playing at a championship level, and you took all of their fan bases and combined them into one. And they all won it. It's like, that's what I'm trying to explain it to you, because, I give the Washington.
What I'm saying is, like, of all the professional sports teams, when the Knicks are good, where do they rank? Is it behind the Yankees? Was it number 2?
No, so, okay. Let me explain to you this is a great way to explain to you as a New Yorker. When the Knicks went to the NBA Finals, you couldn't, I'm from Harlem now. Understand, That's right near Yankee. My first trophy was one where the new Yankee Stadium is. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about being outside every day there. Yankees go to World Series in '96. I go to the game. I leave. 5 minutes later, I'm walking back with my basketball, hanging out with my friends, and you think nothing happened. Yankees are a big deal. But I'm saying in New York City, I'm like, these guys not even know, right? When the Knicks went to the finals, you couldn't go anywhere without feeling that energy.
Right.
You can't go. It's just everywhere. And when the Yankees, they have a day game, you'll see people, riding a train from Connecticut and from Long Island, New Jersey. The Yankees are a global brand, but the Knicks, they're a New York brand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think Monday night, if you're even just a sports fan and not even a basketball fan, in terms of unbelievable supercharged environments, you're going to want to watch Game 3 in the Garden on Monday night. That place will be insane. Are you going to be there?
Have you seen the nosebleed tickets? Have you
crazy.
seen the
Like,
nosebleed
what is it, like 3,000 just to get in the building?
No, it's 7,400.
7,400 just to get in the building. Yeah, that's insane. Are you
So,
going to be there?
I'll explain it to you this way. I am not, right? And it just, that's how much of a leash it is on, with NBA TV, we covered the finals every single year. And now, I've hosted the finals with Chuck, Kenny, and Shaq, right? Well, now all those guys are with Ernie, right? Like, that's how tight it is. They're like, all right, this is ESPN at the finals. Now, those guys gone. This is what we're doing. It's in New York, right? So that's how different of a ball game is. Let me explain this to you. In every other arena, you can go look at the footage. We're on the court. It's the NBA Finals. We're on the court. At Madison Square Garden, you're up in the crow's nest where it doesn't even look like you're in the arena. It is just different in that way.
Yeah. All right. Last one for you, because we are today we're 3 weeks away today from the NBA draft. Wizards will be on the clock at number 1. What do you think they should do, and what do you think they will do?
I'm like-minded with John Wall. I think they need to draft Darren Peterson. Yeah. Look, I don't have the answer about the cramping stuff, but I'm telling you right now, I don't know if you know by what I also do for the NBA. I call the EYBL games, and I call Peach Jam and the championships, right? So I see these kids when they're, for instance, right now, the guy that knows Marcus Spears, you'll know him in 2 years. Talk to his dad, 4 times a summer, right? About his kid and his development. I can send you the interview, all right? What I'm saying is I see them at that level. I watch them grow. And Darren Peterson is the most talented. He just is. AJ DeBonta is worth a number 1 pick, but he is just at the end of games, he doesn't have that thing. Defensively, he doesn't have that thing. I don't know what's up with the cramping stuff, but if that's figured out, Darren Peterson 10 times over. Cam Boozer is the other guy that impacts winning. Those are the 2 guys that I would love to see either one in a Wizards uniform. I think they draft AJ,
Chris.
by the way.
What'd you say?
I think they draft AJ.
Oh, yeah, right. You think they draft AJ. Yeah. Although I'll tell you, with the organization now, I think that we just don't know what Winger and company and Dawkins are really thinking. But that certainly seems to be the lean with the reporting. Thanks, Chris. As always, really enjoyed it.
Yep, thank you.
Chris Miles, everybody, at Chris Miles TV on X. Kevin Sheehan Show, the Team 980 and the team980.com.
David Bakhtiari. My first year, boy, he was all over me. I don't know if I recorded a pressure, like I was out the game. After that, I was pretty good. Last time I felt like I was frustrated with somebody was probably Laramie.
Laramie? Big tonsil. I got to go against him this year. I'm excited about that matchup.
That was Myles Garrett on a boat fishing with Randy Moss.
Yeah, with Randy Moss and Will Anderson. They were both on the boat with Randy.
Man, Will Anderson is number 2 to Garrett right now in the league.
Sure is.
And that was Myles Garrett saying David Bakhtiari, when Bakhtiari was in Green Bay. Now in Cleveland, it's not like they played him a whole bunch, but he said had problems with him. But the last guy was Tunsil that gave him real problems. Last time I felt like I was frustrated with somebody was probably Laramie, as in Tunsil. And, had an opportunity when Laramie was in Houston to probably play them more often. They played them in a playoff game, remember? They played them in a playoff game after 23, in which Houston absolutely clobbered the Browns. Yes, the Browns were in the playoffs fairly recently. It took, though, Joe Flacco to be the quarterback. Well, not Cleveland was in the. Yeah, Cleveland was their quarterback. Cleveland was Flacco was the Browns quarterback. Led them to an 11-6 record in 2023, and then they got clobbered in the playoff game by Houston, and Garrett probably didn't have a great game against Laramie Tunsil. I still wonder why the Texans, with the offensive line issues that they ended up having this year, why they were so kind of okay and ready to move on. Obviously, it was paying Tunsil, and they didn't want to come up with the money that Washington came up with a couple of months ago to keep him around for a while. And so they, had some leverage at that point and traded him. Tunsil's really good. He's really good. And it's not just because Myles Garrett says that he's really good. He played very, very well last year. And that is certainly one of those deals the team made that worked out. All right. If you want, we can get back to the Brandon Ayuk conversation. The question, simply put, is his arrest warrant for speeding misdemeanor charge back in December, is that, the moment in which you have said now, no chance, don't want him, it's a disqualifier, the nail's in the coffin, move on, sign Diggs, do something else, but we're not signing Brandon Ayuk? For me, I'm kind of where I was even before yesterday. And that is, I'd be really excited about Brandon Ayuk if physically he was 100% off of the knee injury. Secondly, you felt as an organization that there isn't mental instability. Thirdly, you could get him on a total 1-year prove-it deal so that there's no risk other than having him in your locker room, having him on your team, but you have the ability to cut him and cut him loose if it's not going well for whatever reasons, with no downside, because you're not giving him anything other than, a base salary and, a bunch of incentives. So I'm still there. I mean, a misdemeanor speeding, first of all, we've seen that video. It's weird that it took months for them to issue the warrant. I don't get that, but whatever, somebody else probably has the answer to that one. And that's hardly a disqualifier given all of the things that have happened to NFL players just recently. I mean, that was a big story. We didn't talk about it. I was on vacation, but Josh Jacobs getting arrested, the very good Green Bay running back, booked on charges of domestic abuse, strangulation, disorderly conduct. We had Nolan Smith, the Eagles linebacker, also very recently accused of speeding and reckless driving. We had Marquise Bell arrested on drugs. We had James Pierce, of course, going back to when was that, January or February after the season, accused of basically big time felony charges on domestic violence. I mean, there are a lot of people, and I've read about James Pierce because he really had a good season as a rookie last year, that he might end up, in jail. Jordan Addison and all of his different, transgressions over the last couple of years. I mean, it's always, it's every other week, not even every other. It's every week there's a headline of somebody in the NFL getting in some kind of trouble. Now, whether or not those charges end up becoming convictions, like with Stephon Diggs, with the, the strangulation felony assault charges, which he won that case, was found not guilty. But there's always something. I mean, speeding, putting it on YouTube, not good judgment. And that's number one on my list of concerns for Brandon Ayuk. After the physical, is he okay? You're not going to sign him if his knee isn't 100%. Like, I don't think this is going to be a referendum on Adam Peters, regardless of how it works out on Brandon Ayuk specifically, as long as the deal is a prove-it deal. If it's a prove-it deal, sometimes teams will just roll the dice and say, look, yeah, we're not sure it's going to work out or not, but the upside's big if it does work, and we're not paying anything. So why not? 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Phone lines are open again if you want to weigh in on whether or not the Brandon Ayuk arrest warrant is now it for you. It is now no longer of interest for the team to pursue Brandon Ayuk. For me, yesterday's event as a standalone is hardly a disqualifier. I think the overall judgment is certainly in question, but there's just too much we don't know and can't answer about Brandon Ayuk's physical and mental makeup right now. I would rely on the team to do that, and I would feel confident that they would make the right decision. I would. John in Falls Church, go ahead.
Hey, so I don't have many connections in sports, but I do have a connection within the 49ers through my brother. And there's a mix of opinions within that facility. And I think it kind of goes back to the old school football. You don't talk about mental health in football terms. And some people in the organization do talk about it, and others make it seem like a weakness that they don't want to talk about, that it's football, and you're not tough if you have mental health issues. But there are people there that are worried behind closed doors that something's going on that's bigger than football, and that he, should focus on that before he focuses on his next contract.
Look, your connection, we don't even really, I appreciate you sharing that, but it's like obvious, right? That's the part of it. There's the physical part of it, and then you've got to make sure that he's actually mentally fit, because these decisions he's made are reflective of somebody that is at the very least terrible with judgment.
The only part I was going to say, the connection part, is that it's not so much the obvious that there should be, but there's still resistance within the NFL circles to acknowledge that, to make it a thing, to have compassion for it. So there's people within the organization who are bigger names than this person, who treat it like it's a character flaw, not a problem that needs to be addressed.
Well, I think the league, and I think all of these leagues, have done a much better job of identifying and recognizing, mental illness and giving help when help's been needed. But maybe that's not the case in San Francisco. Thanks for the call, John. 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. If you want to weigh in on the latest on Brandon Ayuk, which is arrest warrant for what they call exhibition of speed, with the YouTube video, the incident that happened back in December outside of Levi's Stadium. He also posted yesterday, I don't know when it's from, himself in a Mercedes-Benz speeding around a racetrack, or at least the feeling is that it was him driving the car. If you're going to speed, and football players and a lot of people love to drive cars quickly, the best place to do it is at a track. 301-230-0980. More of your calls on this when we come back. I'll get to some of your reactions to my comments about Drake London and Terry McLaurin yesterday. Another wide receiver in the NFL has signed another big deal today as well. I do want to mention that Window Nation right now has a really good deal going on for those of you that think you might need new windows. And if you are running your air conditioning around the clock on hot days, we've got a couple of those coming over the weekend. The reason for that, more times than not, is that your windows just aren't keeping in enough of the cool air because they're older, they're inefficient, they're cracked. If you have that issue, Window Nation can fix it. And they can fix it with their buy 4, get 4 free sale. That means every 4 you buy, the next 4 are free. In essence, you're paying half price for the windows. Add to that, they'll give you a financing option that includes no money down, no payments, and no interest for 2 years. Window Nation has a superlative customer service record. 96% of their customers call themselves satisfied. Forbes magazine rated Window Nation #1 in America among all window installation companies. And basically, the chances of having your windows installed and then needing them reinstalled are slim and none. 97% of their installs require no follow-up service. It all starts with an in-home estimate. Call them at 866-90-NATION or head to windownation.com. From Timmy. Timmy writes, you're going to look stupid when Brandon Ayuk signs a 1-year prove-it deal, proves nothing, and never gets another opportunity. Look, I acknowledge that is a possibility with a guy like this right now, no doubt. But what would be the downside to the organization if they didn't pay much? Like, I am not recommending that they sign Brandon Ayuk to just wing it without any information. Hey, man, you were great in 23. Sure, the knee's okay. We don't need to look at it. It's been 2 years. And all this other stuff, I mean, whatever. Just come in and play. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that if they think they're getting the player physically that was on the field at the end of 23, and they have a psychologist on staff that says he's mentally fit, why wouldn't you pay hardly anything, all on the come, to just see? Look, if they had, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, then of course I wouldn't care about this. I'd say, no, move on. You don't need this. They need another playmaker. I think they do. I mean, they didn't need one 2 years ago when they were great on offense. So maybe you'll get the same sort of performance this year, and Terry can bounce back and have a big year. But no, I think, Timmy, that is an absolute possibility. If this guy's mentally unstable or has the capability of being mentally unstable, of course that's in play. Eddie in D.C., Brandon Ayuk, the latest was that there was an arrest warrant issued, misdemeanor traffic violation, speeding, exhibition of speed back from December. Is this a disqualifier for you, or is this on top of everything else a disqualifier for you wanting him on our team?
No.
Eddie.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I got you now.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's been a lot worse. It's been done in the league. Cases that have been found guilty, and so no, that's not. I'm totally, with incentives and 1-year deal and no hurt to the team if it doesn't work out. And we do need another playmaker. All of that is in play, and make sure his mental and his physical are in check. Then sign him, no doubt about it. But I was listening to Rooster yesterday, and he was adamant about no, don't sign him, and this is just another case that he's like totally prejudging the guy and doesn't want to give him a chance at all whatsoever. And he says he has information that, that he can stand by that says that we should have nothing to do with him. And Paulie
What's the
show,
information? What's the information?
He wouldn't say. He wouldn't say. That's the whole point. He wouldn't say. He's just prejudging Ayuk. And Paulie on there was saying that, he's wrong. He should give him a chance. That we should give him a chance and have him come on the team and with incentives and all that for 1 year to see. But they got into it, and Paulie. Paulie is a football guy, and shout out to him. He knows stuff, and he's one of the better callers, and he makes Rooster's show, and he got hung up on. It's totally disrespected yesterday.
I do love Paulie, and you're right. Paulie has been for years one of the better callers on these shows.
You don't do that. Yeah. You don't do that.
Well, you do sometimes. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. It depends. And maybe Chris has some information. I'd love to know what it is. Look, I'm really, to me, this isn't that hard. If they decide, because they have all the information, we don't, maybe Chris has some information that would lead him to believe you shouldn't do it. But if, they deem it to be worth it, worth to take, no risk for a high reward, you got to think the reward is there. Like you start with that. You start with, Is the reward there? Is it possible? Is it likely that we're going to have a really good football player on our team who just happens to be available because of a terrible relationship that went south in San Francisco, and he wants to be here, and he's willing to sign a low-risk deal, a low-money, high-incentive deal. But you've got to first identify if the reward's there. And I can't do that because I don't have access to the medical, and I certainly don't have access to the mental. The mental right now would seem to be the bigger concern. I would think after 2 years, essentially, since the injury, coming up on 2 years since the injury, I'm going to guess in this day and age, his knee's probably fine. But the mental stuff, the judgment stuff, if the judgment stuff is just bad judgment by a dummy, there are a lot of dummies in the NFL. If it's bad judgment because he's mentally unfit, well, you can't do it. And then, as a previous caller said, then you just want him to get help. Thanks for the call. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Bobby in North Carolina, go ahead.
Hey, Kev. It's a speeding ticket. It's old news to me. This changes absolutely nothing in my eyes. I'm going to trust Adam and the organization. And if he passes his physical after September 1st, they're going to sign him to a low-risk deal. But, Kevin, the upside is too much not to poke the bear on this thing, okay? If he's mentally,
I agree.
It's a no-brainer. I mean, what do you got to
But
lose?
Bobby, there is a possibility. We're so far outside of this. There is a possibility that right now in the building, and I haven't heard this, and I have inquired, but there is a possibility that Adam's like, we're not doing this. Like even Jaden might be saying, don't do this. He needs help.
Well,
that's a possibility right now. And we're in that case, I wish we knew because we are wasting our time. But anyway, continue.
If you're right on that, if that's the case, though, if that's the case, they're signing Diggs already to me. I think they're holding out for Brandon. They know it's going to be probably September 1st before he's officially released, and just roll with it then. But they're going to have him on a low-risk deal. And, I think it's going to hit him probably once he signs that deal, all those $20, $30, $40 million that basically he's pissed away. It is finally going to probably hit him. What have I done? He's going to play on a prove-it deal. So hopefully it's going to work out, but this changes nothing.
Right. From the paychecks he was getting to wait a minute, this is the paycheck on a prove-it deal? Yeah. What did I do? Or he's too limited or too unstable to even sort of, be able to process it.
You're right.
Who knows?
Welcome back, brother. Missed you. See you.
Thanks, Bobby. Tom in Hyattsville, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin. How you doing?
Good, Tom.
He is a professional athlete, right, IU? But a lot of times after these injuries, a player is never, or usually sometimes they don't have the same burst or separation. And there was no real proof that he's been rehabbing. Like you said, there's just a lot of factors that we don't even know. So how do we know he is rehabbing on his own even? And his best ability.
They do, maybe they do, but we don't. Right.
And his best ability, I think, was his route running and separation, which we've already addressed in the draft. I think Antonio Williams they already said is a great route runner in the draft.
Yeah, he hasn't played a game yet in the NFL. They always say that they're great this time of year.
No,
I love pointing back to Antonio Gandy Golden was going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate this time of year. So
and Golden, I don't even know who that is. So
nobody does anymore.
Oh, people forget.
Only idiots like me remember. Your injury point, there have been plenty of players who have come back better, or just as good, if not, in better shape, post, ACL surgery, so it's not unusual in this day and age to come back just fine physically. But you're right. That's something they obviously have to get a really good grip on. Is he the same player? Because he was an exceptional player at the end of 2023, an exceptional separator, route runner, And they could use one of those. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Let's finish it up with G from the shop. G, go ahead.
Hey, Sheehan, I'm not excited that he got a warrant, but because I don't want to see him get in trouble legally, but I like it because that's less money that we would have to put on that guaranteed contract to sign him. That's another problem against him. So that drops his value. So we ain't got to pay him that much on that contract. We can get him and Stephon Diggs, man. He ain't running nobody over. He ain't drinking and driving. If we got concerns about him driving around all crazy, let's just Uber him to everywhere when we do sign him.
The Jamin Davis method.
What'd you say, Max?
The Jamin Davis method.
Yeah, well, it was the Fred Davis. Doc wanted, the organization to basically have someone there to wake him up and then to drive him to practice so he could get there on time. I
would need that.
Yeah, I'm. There's so much we don't know, but there's no way a misdemeanor, speeding violation is going to be the disqualifier for me. I mean, he's not Ray Caruth, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So
prayers to that. But yeah, like you said, he didn't run nobody over. He wasn't drinking and driving. Like he's a young guy that likes to drive fast, man. I like to drive fast too sometimes.
Me too.
But
I've had a couple of recklesses.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's not. That's another demerit towards his payday. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to break the bank for Stephon Diggs because of his behavior off the field and being a candidate.
Well, and his age too. He's a different case because of the age. Yeah.
But he's a great age for me because he's in the twilight of his career. Close it out where you came from, and he was in the Super Bowl last year helping a team that wasn't picked to go to the Super Bowl. How about you do that with us? On the bargain deals, both of them, because we don't have to break the bank for either. I'd go get both of them, and I'm with you, Sheehan, and all the new receivers that we done got, anybody drafted, we don't know what's going on until they put them pads on, man.
Talk to you later. Thanks, as always. Christian Watson is the latest wide receiver to sign a pretty sizable contract extension, not at the Drake London level from yesterday, but 4 years, $110.5 million, includes $31 million in a signing bonus. Let me just say that yesterday's comments that I made about Drake London really sent the Terry is elite crowd into a tizzy. I'm not going to say that about Christian Watson. I'm not a big fan of Christian Watson. I think he's good, and I think for the Packers they need him. They've got Jaden Reed coming back, right? Watson, who am I missing from that team? Matthew Golden, right? The Texas receiver, who was a rookie last year. Watson is not as good as Terry. I will give you that. Definitely not as good as Terry. And by the way, his deal is a better deal, maybe, but I don't think it's better. Look, you guys are hysterical. Yesterday on the show, on the news that Drake London had signed basically the third largest contract for a wide receiver in NFL history, I read an email from somebody who basically said, so I guess you're now going to say Drake London is better than Terry. And I said, yeah, I would take Drake London over Terry McLaurin. Of course I would. He's 24 years old. He's 6'4", 225, and has played at a very high level when he's had decent quarterback play. Yeah, I would. And none of your responses from James, from Markel, that's why you got the job. Terry's always been a better player than him. Drake London is not better than Terry McLaurin from Lord Commander, and I would never take him over Terry. London would be number 2 here, or 1B. From Skins for Life, Drake London's pretty overrated. 1 season over 1,000 yards and a top 10 pick. See, we can debate all this, and it's fun to do it. And I don't know why Terry, in my world, has become polarizing, because he's the opposite of a polarizing figure. He's an incredible guy. He's an incredible teammate. He's an incredible leader, and he's a really good wide receiver. Like I've said for years now, he's somewhere after number 10, but certainly before number 20, or before number 15 or 16, 12 to 16 range. Put him in that range in the NFL. But he's also about to turn 31 years old. But, the team spoke on what they thought of Terry last year with the contract. And the team in Atlanta spoke on what they think of Drake London with his contract. The two contracts are completely different. Drake London's is Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson territory. Terry's is the opposite of that. It's not the end-all, be-all. I'm not saying that that's, case closed, but he's a really good receiver. Drake London's a really good receiver, and he's 24 years old. Yes, I'd take Drake London over Terry. No, I would not take Christian Watson over Terry, even though Watson's much younger too, right? How old is he? He's probably only 25 or 24 years old. Christian Watson, 27 years old. He drops too many balls for me. London, I have watched actually dominate some football games. And I had quarterback. Look, Terry didn't have any quarterbacks either. I understand that. I just like Drake London. I like him as a route runner. I think he's got excellent hands. I think he's tough. He's a big target at 6'4", 6'4 and a half, 220. And give him a quarterback, and I don't know if we'll have one. And I think he is certainly in that top 10 of receiver conversation. Top 3 in terms of the contract, no, but top 10, yes. All right, when we come back, you'll hear part of my conversation with Randy Whitman, former Wizards coach, who weighed in on who he thinks the Wizards should draft at number 1 overall. That's next. So former Wizards head coach Randy Whitman was on my podcast yesterday. He's a really good guest. He's had such an incredible basketball life. Grew up in Indianapolis, played as a very successful high school basketball player in the state of Indiana, which is a big deal. Went to Indiana, played for Bobby Knight, won a national championship playing alongside Isaiah Thomas, was in the NBA for many, many years, played on some of those really good Atlanta Hawks teams with Dominique Wilkins in the 80s, and then obviously had a very long coaching career, including his stint here in Washington from 2012 to 2016, where I always felt like he didn't get enough credit for being an excellent coach. Most coaches always viewed Randy Whitman as very strong as an X's and O's coach. So I had him on yesterday. You're not going to hear the whole thing because a lot of it was about the NBA Finals and previewing Game 1 even and previewing the series. But we talked about a number of things, and I finally got to Wizards have the number 1 pick on June 23rd. If you're in the room, what would you do? So the Wizards have the number 1 pick. I know you're a huge college basketball fan as well. So if you're in that room and you're part of the decision-making group, who are you taking at number 1?
Yeah, I would go. I would really, really think hard and long of seeing what, number 1, what you can get for it. There could be some crazies out there that, it is a deep draft. And you never know what kind of package you might get for that. I mean, that's what I'm looking at, number 1. I love the kid from BYU.
DeBonsa.
Yes. The thing I like about him, he just loves to play.
Yeah.
He loves to play. Were they a great team? They weren't a great team. They lost, that player that really hurt them, and they didn't go as far as they did. But this kid just, you can see it in his face and his motions. He loves playing basketball, and that you can't teach. And if you have a guy like that, I had a guy like that in Kevin Garnett. All right, the guy absolutely loved playing, which translated to he loved practicing. He loved competing, whether it was in an actual game or against his teammates in practice.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. All right, that goes a long way in developing your team when you have a big component of your team that rubs off on other players like that. The kid from Kansas is a good player. He's probably has a more chance to be a really great pro, but I don't know if he likes to play.
Right.
You can say all you want now. He can come out and say it's whatever, the vitamins I'm taking or whatever, my butt. All right. There's no way I'm taking myself out of the game. It's not the trainer taking you out or a doctor taking you out. I'm taking myself out of the game. All right. Because that scares me. That's just me speaking off. So, a lot of people compare those two guys, I think. I don't think there's any comparison. Just talent-wise, I think the Kansas kid might have a little bit more talent. But the other dimension of the kid, those intangibles you can't teach. All right? And that's a talent, too, if you have those kind of intangibles that go over. And he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's a good player. There's not that much difference talent-wise. But that other thing just scares me too much. But I would look to see who would give me, hey, you got two veteran guys there on the team too. You can package that and really put something together that you guys could take off next year.
Real quickly, because you brought up Kevin Garnett and the kind of competitor that he was and how he loved basketball. You were on that staff, right, with Flip Saunders, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because he didn't play college basketball and he came right out of high school, did you guys know that about him at 18 years old? Or did you figure it out once he actually got into an NBA game? How did you know that about Garnett?
you knew his passion for the game, just the way he played it. Now, you didn't know the other part, that his drive. I mean, he isn't even close. He's for a superstar, a Hall of Fame player. He practiced every day. I mean, Flip would have to throw him out of the gym.
Right.
All right, if he said, "All right, you're not practicing today. We're coming off 4 games in 5 days. You're not practicing. We're going to play a lot of these." He would get pissed off, and you would literally have to throw him out of the gym to keep him off the floor. Now, you didn't know those things. We just got lucky.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We got lucky with that. But I kind of see those same intangibles with the kid from BYU.
All right. I do have one more just because everything pops into my head as you're talking. You have coached great players. You have played with great players. Who's the greatest player you've been around as a coach or a player, as a teammate?
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
He was by far the best at just everything. Leader, not only talent, made other people better. He was a tough physical dude at 6 foot. I mean, he would fight you in a minute even if you were 7 foot.
Yeah.
Hard. He was a winner. I mean, he was a winner through and through. And I always gravitate to the people that make your teammates better. And he did that along with being a great player. I'm biased. I played with him. We won a national championship together. And he ended up having a pretty good career in the NBA too.
Yeah. When it comes to Isaiah, I always think about, and I know we've had these conversations before because it's coming to me right now that we've probably talked about this, but nobody remembers. I think Steph Curry, for me, is the best combination of shooter and ball handler in one body that I've ever seen. But I always go back to, if Isaiah played in this era where you're able to pull up from 35 feet in transition and shoot, 15, 18 threes a game, that he would have been a great long-range three-point shooter. And I might think of him that way. What do you say to that?
Yeah. I say he wouldn't have been a Steph Curry type shooter.
Right.
There's only one of those, Kev.
Yeah.
That he's going to go down. Come on, seriously, think back when he was at Davidson. I think he was the 7th pick. Was he the 7th pick in the draft?
Yeah, I think that was it. Yep. And we traded the pick. We traded the pick.
There's nobody thought that he was going to be the player that he's turned out to be. He's slight build, he's skinny. He played at Davidson. Steph he's a tough kid. I mean, you don't get and do what he's done in this league for the number of years he's done it with the build that he is, the slight build that he is, and survive without toughness. Not only mental toughness, but physical toughness. He's a tough kid. And there's nobody that shoots it like that. I don't know if we'll see another one that shoots it like I might not. I'm sure there'll be another one that comes around, but and as you said, his ability to handle the ball on top of it. He's just not a catch and shoot guy that can really shoot it. He could create his own shot without great quickness. I mean, this kid isn't like, John Wall was quick. This kid's not quick.
But the release is lightning quick.
No. Lightning quick. Not even you can't block it.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking back at that draft and I remember specifically Flip Saunders was hired before that season. And Abe Poland still owned the team. Ernie was the GM. I forget, were you a part of the 2009 staff or not?
Yes.
Yeah, you were, right? You came with Flip, right? So I can tell you, I know the player Ernie would have picked had he been on the board, but he wasn't, and that was Harden. Ernie loved James Harden coming out of Arizona State. Instead, we traded the pick for Randy Foye and Mike Miller.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
How's that look now?
Steph Curry was on the board.
Well, I think, wait a minute, think about it. What's the kid? Heck, there was another one. Minnesota, I think.
Minnesota picked Ricky Rubio with the pick.
There was another. They picked 2 point guards.
God, you're right. You're right about that. They picked not Tyreek Evans. Hold on, I gotta look it up. Oh, Johnny Flynn. Johnny Flynn from Syracuse.
Johnny Flynn. How about that one?
Yeah.
Johnny Flynn.
Yeah.
He lasted a year and a half in the league.
Yeah, and Steph Curry, I remember because the introduction of Flip was down at what was then called MCI Center, and we did our show live and had Flip on the show and then had Ernie on the show. And I remember asking Ernie what he thought of Steph Curry, and he said, I don't know, he's kind of small. Who's he going to guard? That's always the thing with players who are really good at the college level that score a lot. It's, well, who's he going to guard? But he loved Harden. By the way, Harden couldn't guard anybody either.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's the way that one went.
Well, just to let the fans out there, I didn't have anything to do with it.
No, you didn't. Thanks for doing this. I always enjoy it. Hope you're well.
It's always a pleasure, and anytime if I can do it, I'll come on. If I'm on the golf course, forget it.
Hit him straight. Appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you later.
That was Randy Whitman from the podcast. He was really good. He's always really good. Really likable guy. And again, he's been around for some big moments during his career, even if he wasn't the, central character. But yeah, that draft, the Randy Foye, Mike Miller draft of 2009, when they traded number 5 overall, it was because Abe wanted to get to the playoffs immediately. He didn't have that much time left, and he wanted to see a playoff team, and Flip Saunders was brought in as a veteran coach to coach a playoff team. Of course, as we know, they didn't make the playoffs until they got to the playoffs back with Randy Whitman, with John Wall, and Bradley Beal. But yeah, that was coming off the Gil, Karan, Antoine years, and they wanted more. Really tough series for the Nats. I feel like, Max, we got on here earlier in the week and
give
we're
them their props, and then they squandered it all.
Yeah, and they're getting ready to go. They're playing Miami. They could be 5 games over 500 at the end of this series. No, they got swept by the Marlins. Not good, but they're heading out to Arizona and to San Francisco. Currently as a team 1 game under 500 after they got to 2 games over 500. All right, that's it for today. Chris is next.